For number 1, which is fill out the following missing items if x equals 5 and y equals 3, we use the triangles the 30-60 triangle and the 45-45 triangle, and what we're finding is the sine, the cosine, the tangent, the cosecant, the secant, and the cotangent. To find these, we use the opposite over hypotenuse, the adjacent over hypotenuse, the opposite over adjacent, the hypotenuse over opposite, and the hypotenuse over adjacent, and adjacent over opposite. And when we fill in this, we get all these answers for the 30, the 45, and the 60 angles. Number 2, if sine equals 2 over 7, draw the right triangle and find the following. Well, we're trying to find cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, and cotangent. And knowing that sine is opposite over hypotenuse, we know that this is 7 and this is 2. And using a squared plus b squared equals c squared, we're able to find that this is 3 over 5. And plugging in all of the formulas here to find these, we get all of these answers.
In this problem, we were using a triangle to measure the width of a river. So what we did was we used tangent, and we took 85 because that's the value for y. And we took tangent of 85 and got 11.43. And we multiplied that by 150, and we got 1,714.5 meters. That being the final answer. So in this problem, we refer to the unit circle to do this problem, and what I did was I looked at it and I determined from the circle from where this is that it would be 210 and 150 because you have to go around it. And then with this one, I determined it was 240 and negative 120 because you had to go around it clockwise. And that made this one negative, and counterclockwise this one positive. And I just subtracted 960, which is right here, from 720 and got 240 for the first one, and then 120 from that one. So in this problem, we just took the 3 and the 10, like from there, and then we multiplied it by that, got 54 degrees. And then with this one, the 60-degree one, we took that, made it negative, multiplied it by 180, and the radius, and then we got 5 over 3 with that little sign. And then we did kind of the same thing with 72.
So in these kinds of problems, we need to graph. These problems give you a function, g of x or f of x, and right here it's saying the function is g of x equals 3 times the sine of x. The amplitude would be 3 because there's a 3 in front of the sine of x. The period would be 2 pi because that is where the graph will end, and we'll find out the translation later. But for now, we graph the brown line. Take a look at the brown line. Pi 2 is at 0, 1, so we're going by the y value and the y point of each one. The y value for pi is 0. The y value for 3 pi is negative 1, and the y value for 2 pi is 0. So there's the brown line. Now, since the amplitude is 3, we have to take the y value of each point and multiply it by 3. So the y value of pi over 2 times 3, which is 3 times 1, is 3. So that's where the first point is, right above the top of the point right there for pi over 2. The y value for pi is 0, so 3 times 0 is 0. You keep the point as is. 3 times negative 1 for 3 pi is negative 3, so the point is all the way down there. And 3 times 0 for 2 pi, and the point will remain as is. So, what did this graph undergo? What translation did it undergo? It went under a vertical stretch. You can see the line is stretched vertically, upward and downward. This problem is similar to the one that we had earlier. So, the function is g of x equals the cosine of 2 of x, or 2x. The amplitude would equal 1 since there's nothing in front of the cosine. Period would be pi since the graph ends at pi. And the translation we'll get to later after the graphing. So here's the pink line. The pink line is the original amplitude. Now we want to focus on the blue line. So how do we get the blue line? We have to divide each x value, or each point's x value, by 2. So the point pi over 2, its x value is 0. So 0 divided by 2, 0. So the point right there will end up on pi or 1, 0. So pi over here, its point, its x value would be -1. So -1 divided by 2 will be -1 over 2. So the point moves down to -1 over 2. 1 would be right here. -1 would be right there. So -1 over 2 would be that earlier line right there.